Most people assume that a full life is a busy life. We are taught to measure our days by what we accomplish. We fill our calendars with tasks, meetings, and obligations. Each checked box is meant to feel like a victory, a small step forward on the path to success or fulfillment. This constant motion becomes the background noise of our existence, a hum that assures us we are participating, contributing, and building something of value. We believe that to stop moving is to fall behind, to become irrelevant in a world that never seems to rest. This belief is so deeply ingrained that we rarely question it. It feels as natural as breathing, but that's not what actually stays with us. The moments that truly shape our inner world are often the quiet ones. They are the unplanned pauses, the unexpected silences between the notes of our busy lives. Think of a long drive with no destination, or the view from a window on a rainy afternoon. These are the spaces where clarity finds us. The constant pursuit of more achievements, more connections, more experiences can leave us feeling strangely empty. The very things we collect to define ourselves often fail to provide a lasting sense of peace or meaning. The hum of productivity can drown out a quieter, more essential part of our being. We chase goals with relentless energy. We believe that reaching the next milestone will finally grant us the satisfaction we seek. Yet, with each summit we conquer, another one appears on the horizon. The feeling of accomplishment is fleeting, quickly replaced by the pressure to begin the next climb. This cycle can lead to a profound sense of exhaustion, one that sleep alone cannot cure. It is a weariness of the spirit, a quiet destabilization that happens when our outer life moves much faster than our inner one. We might notice it in small moments of detachment, a feeling of being a spectator in our own story. This relentless forward motion has a cost. It creates a subtle but persistent friction within us. We tell ourselves that this is just the price of a modern, ambitious life. We learn to ignore the low-grade anxiety that simmers beneath the surface of our daily routines. We become experts at distraction, filling every spare moment with content, noise, or another task. We forget what it feels like to simply be, without the need to do. The silence we avoid is often the very space where the most important questions are waiting for us, patiently and without demand. The real journey might not be about adding more, but about learning to subtract. This is not a call to escape. It is not an argument for abandoning our responsibilities. It is not about walking away from the lives we have carefully constructed. The idea of a grand departure is often just another form of doing, or another dramatic event to add to our life story. An escape implies the problem is external, that a change of scenery will fix what feels unsettled within. But the disquiet we feel often travels with us, no matter how far we go. It's part of our internal landscape. It cannot be left behind at a departure gate or at the start of a new trail. True change is rarely so theatrical. This is about considering a different kind of stillness, the intentional pause, the quiet reset. This is the concept of a sabbatical, not as a vacation or a reward for burnout, but as a deliberate act of recovery and reconnection, a period set aside not to run away from life, but to turn toward it more fully, with renewed attention. An opportunity to lower the volume of the outside world so we can finally hear the quieter truths trying to reach us. This pause isn't emptiness. It creates space for what truly matters to surface. The word sabbatical can sound intimidating. It may conjure academic pursuits or year-long journeys to distant lands. We might dismiss it as a luxury we cannot afford, or as a privilege for a select few, but its essence can be woven into our lives in smaller, more accessible ways. a mindset before an action, the permission to stop optimizing every moment. It can be a week of quiet reflection at home, or a month of reduced work, or even a dedicated hour each day to simply be without an agenda. Scale matters less than the intention behind it. This intentional pause isn't about finding answers. It's about learning to live more comfortably with questions, a quiet act of defiance against constant productivity. A recognition that growth often happens in fallow seasons, in moments when we are not actively striving. By creating a gentle gap in our relentless pace, we allow a different knowing to emerge. We make room for serendipity, reflection, the slow, often invisible process of healing. This is the quiet reset we didn't know we needed, a gentle return to ourselves. This is the moment most people stop thinking, faced with the unsettling clarity that something is deeply misaligned. The mind's immediate impulse is to find a solution. We want to fix the problem, to create a plan, to take decisive action that will resolve the discomfort we feel. We begin to strategize, to weigh pros and cons, to search for a 5-step guide to a more meaningful life. We treat this inner restlessness as another project to be managed, another problem to be solved, with the same logic and effort we apply to every other aspect of our lives. The thinking becomes another form of doing, another way to stay busy and feel in control. But in this rush to find an answer, we often bypass the most important part of the process. We stop feeling. We stop sitting with the discomfort. We stop listening to the quieter, less articulate voice that the stillness has allowed to surface. The clarity fades, replaced by the familiar noise of mental activity, planning, and problem solving. We become so focused on finding the right path forward that we lose touch with where we are right now. The profound recognition that arose from a moment of quiet is quickly intellectualized, categorized, filed away. We believe we are engaging with the problem, but we are, in fact, creating a sophisticated defense against its emotional weight. The truth is, some forms of knowing are not accessible through thought alone. They require a different kind of intelligence, more patient, more receptive, less demanding of immediate answers. This is the intelligence of the body, of the heart, of the quieted spirit. When we rush to think our way out of a feeling, we deny ourselves access to this deeper wisdom. We trade the possibility of genuine transformation for the comfort of a quick fix, a manageable plan. We choose the familiar territory of the mind over the uncharted landscape of the soul. This is where the meaning quietly shifts. It moves from a problem to be solved to a state to be inhabited. It asks not for a strategy, but for a presence. The invitation is to remain in that space of not knowing, to resist the urge to fill the silence with the clamor of thought. It is a call to simply bear witness to what is true within us, without the immediate need to change it, to fix it, or even to fully understand it. This is a radical act in a world that prizes action and answers above all else. It is the first, most crucial step in a different kind of journey. If this feels familiar, stay with me, because this is where the practice of a sabbatical truly begins, long before any leave is taken or any plans are made. It begins in the willingness to stop the frantic search for solutions and to simply notice what is present. Noticing is a gentler, more spacious form of attention than thinking. It does not analyze or judge. It merely observes. It is the act of turning your awareness to the subtle details of your inner and outer world without an agenda. It is looking at the way the light falls across your desk, feeling the tension in your shoulders, acknowledging the quiet sadness that sits in your chest. This practice of noticing slowly changes our relationship with time. When we are constantly thinking and planning, we are always living in the future, our minds fixed on the next thing. We are trying to control an outcome that has not yet happened. Noticing, by contrast, brings us firmly into the present moment. It anchors us in the here and now, in the simple, undeniable reality of our current experience. The future, with all its anxieties and demands, recedes. The past, with its regrets and stories, loosens its grip. There's only this breath, this sensation, this quiet moment of being. In this space of noticing, decisions begin to feel less urgent. The problems that seem so monumental, so in need of an immediate and perfect solution, are seen from a different perspective. They lose some of their sharp, demanding edges. We realize that most things do not require an instant response. We see that the pressure we feel is often self-generated, a product of our own habit of anxious thinking. By simply noticing this pressure without acting on it, we create a small pocket of freedom. We give ourselves the grace of a pause, the space to respond rather than react. This is not a passive state. It is an active and engaged form of stillness. It requires a gentle but firm intention to keep bringing the mind back from its wanderings, back from its default mode of planning and worrying. It is a quiet discipline. With each moment of noticing, we are strengthening a different muscle, cultivating a capacity for presence that has likely atrophied from lack of use. We are learning a new way of being in the world, one that is less about forcing outcomes and more about allowing things to unfold. We are learning to trust that clarity will emerge not from frantic thought but from patient attention. The time in the fallow garden eventually comes to an end. The season turns, familiar demands begin to call to us once more. We may feel a pressure, internal and external, to summarize what we have learned, to distill the experience into neat takeaways or a new life plan. We are expected to have found the answers we were looking for, to return with a clear map for the future. The sabbatical is framed as a quest that must conclude with a treasure, a tangible piece of wisdom that justifies time away. This expectation for a clean summary can feel like the final subtle test of the journey. But the real gift of the pause is not a collection of neat conclusions. It is not a list of solutions to the problems that led us to seek stillness. Deepest transformation is not in finding answers, but in learning to live more deeply within our questions. The sabbatical teaches us not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be inhabited. The quiet reset does not provide a final destination. It offers a more reliable inner compass, not with a map, but with a new way of navigating our own terrain. With more presence and less frantic urgency, we return not with a grand new plan, but with a quieter, more attuned awareness. We distinguish the voice of our own intuition from the noise of external expectation. We practice the art of noticing, being present to the small miracles of the ordinary. We sit with the discomfort of the unresolved and discover a strength in that stillness. These are not achievements to list on a resume or explain in a simple narrative. They are subtle shifts in our way of being felt. More than understood, their true value unfolds slowly over time. We are left not with a statement, but with a question that lingers long after the pause. A question that was there all along when we were too busy to hear. It is not, what should I do with my life? That is the question of the thinking mind, seeking control and a clear path. The deeper question the sabbatical unearths is simpler and far more profound. It sits beneath all the others. Stillness has finally allowed us to ask with open-hearted curiosity. The journey does not end here. It truly begins with this inquiry. What then is the quiet question that your own life is waiting to ask you? If this stayed with you, there's another reflection on this channel that continues the conversation.